Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. There has been a thrilling discovery made in the science community. The first working time machine has been invented. I have been invited along to find and interview the first 4 presidents of the United States. We're here. We're here with our first and former President of the United States, Mr. George Washington. Hello, Mr. Washington. It's an honor to meet you.
Glad to meet you too.
There are a couple questions I'd like to ask you if you wouldn't mind.
I would gladly answer them.
Who are the members of your cabinet and what did they do?
The members of my cabinet were Thomas Jefferson, who was Secretary of State, Henry Knox, he was the Secretary of War, Alexander Hamilton, who was the Secretary of Treasury, Edmund Randolph, who was Attorney General, and Samuel Osgood, who was Postmaster General.
What precedents did you set that are still being used today?
Some precedents that I set that are still used today are like kissing the Bible, being called Mr. President, and 2 4-year term presidencies.
There was a treaty that happened. It was Jay's Treaty. Could you tell me the whole purpose behind that?
Jay's Treaty was allowing Britain to withdraw troops from the Northwest Territory and letting the U.S. ships trade in the West Indies.
What did Pinckney's Treaty allow?
Pinckney's Treaty allowed the U.S. to use the port of New Orleans again.
What caused impressment to start?
Britain and France both wanted American aid. So when I declared neutrality, they started seizing our ships and impressing our sailors.
I'd like to know, was the capital moved directly from New York to Washington, D.C.?
No, it was temporarily set in Philadelphia while D.C. was being mapped out and it was still being built. So against common legend, I never lived in the White House.
Oh. Well, thank you. That was an honor to speak to you.
It's an honor to meet you too.
Very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
We're here with our second, and my personal favorite, President of the United States, Mr. John Adams. Mr. Adams, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you too.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
That'd be splendid.
What was the XYZ affair?
The XYZ affair is a treaty saying that Adams sent a group to France to work out peace. It also says that the French delegates wanted $10 million to establish peace.
Describe to me what the Alien and Sedition Acts were.
The Alien and Sedition Acts allowed the president to deport or imprison any foreigners and make it illegal for anyone to speak or write against the government.
What was the states' right theory about?
A state can nullify a law passed by the U.S. government.
So, what does nullify mean?
To reject. So the states' right theory says that the state could reject a law passed by the government.
What were the resolutions of Kentucky and Virginia?
It claims that the Alien and Sedition Acts were unconstitutional.
So, what do you consider to be your biggest accomplishment?
Keeping peace between the U.S., the British, and the French.
Well, thank you, Mr. John Adams. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
We're here with one of the writers of the Declaration of Independence, Mr. Thomas Jefferson. Mr. Jefferson, it is a pleasure to finally meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
I love to answer them.
So, what did you spend on the Louisiana Purchase?
I spent $15 million.
Could you please explain what a laissez-faire government is?
A laissez-faire government is a government system that let the economy alone.
So, we all know about the war in Tripoli, but where is Tripoli?
Tripoli is located in the Atlantic Ocean below Europe.
What year was the Embargo Act placed, and what did it do?
The Embargo Act was placed in 1807, and it forbade Americans to export and import any goods.
So, why did you send out Lewis and Clark through the Louisiana Territory?
I sent Lewis and Clark out to explore the Louisiana Territory to map out the area and to find a passage to the Pacific Ocean.
Then, who was Sacagawea?
Sacagawea was a native translator from the Shoshone tribe. She greatly helped Lewis and Clark on their expedition.
Did Zebulon Pike ever explore the Louisiana Territory?
Yes, he explored more in the south than Lewis and Clark.
What position did Marbury almost get appointed?
He almost got appointed to the Justice of the Peace.
Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Jefferson.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
We're here with our fourth and final president of this journey, Mr. James Madison. Mr. Madison, would you mind answering some questions for me and the viewers at home?
Absolutely.
So, what caused you to join the War of 1812?
It was the natives' quest for land in Canada, impressment of our sailors, and more hawks.
Then what was the importance of the Treaty of Ghent?
It was the treaty that ended War of 1812.
So who led the Battle of Tippecanoe?
Tecumseh led the Indians, but the Prophet led them into battle. William Henry Harrison, governor of the Indiana Territory, led the Americans to victory.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Maxson. It was a
Thank you
pleasure.
for being here.
Well, that concludes our thrilling journey through time to meet the first 4 presidents of the United States. Tune in tonight at 11 for CAPS, Friends or Fiends.